It is time once again for another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, not the podcast, the man who hosts the podcast here, talking with you all on Thursday, August 15. We record these the day after the Dynamite, so we are going to be talking about the August 14 edition of AEW Dynamite. See how that goes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. My dog just left my side. She's been hanging around. She doesn't like hanging around. Juno does, the dog. This is a little bit of lore that I think I'm going to drop on you, but it's something that I've observed. She doesn't hang around when I do the podcasts. She really doesn't. Most of the time she was right here behind me and chilling out, and then all of a sudden I start talking, and she's just gonna go for like an hour or two. She walks out. She doesn't want anything to do with this, but she'll leave her toys around. You see, for those of you with the benefit of video right now, whether youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes or on Spotify, you see the toys. And I spent before starting, I picked up the toys and I put them in her little toy crate. And I got everything away. And then she goes and she pulls them out as I'm opening up the recording stuff and getting the notes together and tweaking some things. And I'm like, okay. And then I go put them away again. And she brings them out and they look like there's 3 of them. And not just one. She brings out 3 toys. And she puts them there. I pick them up, I go put them away. And then I sit back down, or no, I go get some water. I get the hat. I get myself ready. I walk back into the toys are back. And the 3 same toys. I'm like, what is she doing? Take a hint. I'm tidying up so that, not everything looks like a complete and utter disorganized mess for the viewers. She doesn't care. She doesn't understand. She doesn't care about the podcast. She just walked out. She's just right over there. You don't see her on camera. You can kind of see a bit of her paw, I think. Yeah, that looks like a bit of her paw, just like right there. Right there. She's not that far away. She just doesn't want to be next to me. She disapproves of the podcast. I think that's the lore. I didn't disapprove of this Dynamite, though. I thought it was fun. I thought it was pretty good. You want to hear me talk about it? Well, first you got to like the video if you're watching on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes right now, or you can also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you're listening to this with your favorite podcast application, which is also a possibility. But let's just get to it then. Now that we got the canine lore out of the way. Norfolk, Virginia, at the Chartway Arena. I thought it was the Chartwell Arena. Have you heard of Chartwell? I don't know. I don't know if that's something that even exists in this. It probably exists in the States, but it's like this company that has like tons of privately owned old folks homes, like nursing care and all of that. It's a private thing, and they're pretty big. But then I was like, the Chartwell Arena, are they that big? Like to be able to like slap their name on an arena? No, it's Chartway. They don't do the same thing at all. 3,068 tickets distributed according to the WrestleTix. Which is, in the averages, there was a big movement in the past couple of days that got them over 3,000 because they were just scraping by. This was a sub 3,000 audience right up to the very last minute. So, but I don't even know if this is like the latest. The update. This is from yesterday, so I'm assuming we're very close. If there's a final update, it won't be that far off from this. But I mean, what else can we say other than I don't think AEW ticket sales are doing any better. And there's certain things that we're observing right now that don't necessarily put it in a good place. Grand Slam, which of course is going to be happening in September 25, which is typically considered, well, it has started to be considered one of AEW's biggest shows at Arthur Ashe. 3,548 tickets distributed as of now. That's not good. That's just not good. Now, as the show comes together, will there be more people going in? Maybe, hopefully, because right now, that's not necessarily a good look for a stadium show, which they have filled in the past. And even last year, we were sitting around, but they did like 11,000 or so, 11,000, under 1,500, somewhere between 1,100 and 11,000, somewhere between, I'll get it right, 11,000 and 11,500. That's around where they hung. Now we're really far off from that. Like the sale of tickets to Arthur Ashe is not as quick. It's not as fast as it was even last year, and last year wasn't even going as fast as the year before. So these woes aren't setting up. Aren't letting up, anytime soon. They will be doing probably close to, they'll probably be hitting 4,000 people at the Utilita Arena in Cardiff next week. How big is that? How big is that arena? How big is the Utilita Arena? It's 11,000. It has a capacity of 11,000 people. So, you would have thought that AEW going abroad like that and bringing Dynamite to Wales, would probably spike the numbers a little more than this, where, it's basically selling like your run-of-the-mill Dynamite, I don't know. Look, anyway, it's not, the story continues, right? It just stays the same. I think the residency in Arlington was a success. They were able to get like over 1,000 people per show, like pack in the place, like between, somewhere like 1,100, 1,200 per show. So I would consider that. I would assume that was a success for them. They're probably very happy about it. But look, the minute here's an example, right? We're Collision is hitting the road back on August 31st, because I think the last of the I believe the last of the residency is this Saturday. And they're hitting the road. They're going back to August 31st. They're going back on the road on August 31st. 1,388 tickets distributed in Sioux Falls at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Dynamite in Milwaukee on September 4th. 1,589 tickets distributed. Look, it's been a while since we've had some real talk about attendance. And yes, there's, maybe things will happen. Maybe things will happen at All In, that will re-energize ticket sales, right? For these shows, which are not in a good spot right now. Like, these are not good numbers. Even All Out at the Hoffman Estates well, at Hoffman and States at the Now Arena is what I'm trying to say. 5,491 tickets distributed. When we were just on the cusp of hitting 10,000 last year, which was at the United Center. I mean, look, it is not, it is, we're not doing good here. These are not good numbers. And like, I try not, I try not to be extremely defeatist, but the data is there to present it. Yeah, AEW right now is still struggling as a cold product overall, and I think outside and there are signs here that show that it is still struggling and is not necessarily getting better. I would have thought the Cardiff show would have just they would have got like maybe 10,000 people in there. But are these the same people, who are, if you're in Wales, are you also going to Wembley? Probably. Maybe there's a bunch of people who are doing both. Maybe there are just people in Wales who are like, no, I'm going to All Out and the tickets are already expensive. So, I'm not doing both shows. Maybe there's some of that too. Is this what I really thought that they'd pack it. They'd pack the room. They'd do like a 8,000 person gate for the Dynamite. I was like, sure. I mean, yeah, and it's Dynamite and Collision. Like they're taping everything there. I thought this was going to be like the safest of all bets, right? So I think it's a sign that the product is still very cold. Arthur Ashe in this state right now, and we're just a little over a month away. That's still not good. We're still in a spot where the ticket sales aren't great. Now, look, Tony's been going hard, and he's been talking about how some of the biggest announcements in AEW history are going to happen very soon, right? And there's speculation even that there's going to be an announcement. Rumors have been going around regarding a stadium show for AEW, right? There's rumors that there's one that might be happening. There's a rumor that it might be happening in Australia, and then there was and then there's the persistent rumor about a stadium show in Dallas, right? Well, REV Entertainment Communications put out a press release on Tuesday saying that the Globe Life Field was going to host a press conference on Thursday, today, to announce a major international event coming in 2025. Now, let me just double check my haunts here real quick. But as I started recording this, no news had come out. No, there's nothing. There's still nothing that happened. But considering the rumors about AEW wanting to do a stadium show, and that might be in Dallas for next year, well, this sort of all connects. And then there's that announcement. But I wanted to tie in the ticket sales to the announcement that everyone is waiting for, which is the media deal. And Tony keeps teasing, he keeps laying out breadcrumbs, patting himself on the back, keeps talking about how it's going to be great when the media deal happens. It's going to be the best thing. It's going to ensure the future of AEW, etc., etc. But we still haven't announced anything. So we're still waiting on that. The point that I'm trying to make here is that with the media deal coming in, maybe then we can care less about putting butts in seats because the money will be coming in. The money will be guaranteed. Not unlike WWE years ago before they got into this hot period. If you do recall, WWE was doing so attendance, good attendances, but not great, especially not even close to how good they're doing now. They're doing, their house show business was in the toilet, and essentially everyone was saying, well, this is all bad, this is all terrible. Why are they going out of business, so on and so forth? Well, because they had the giant media deals. And the reasoning was, well, they have the media deals, so they don't care all that much about live attendance figures as far as revenue because their money's coming from elsewhere. And this is how Tony is approaching it right now, where he clearly wants the media deal to go nuts and secure AEW financially for years to come. That's clearly it. So that we don't have to, when I say we, I mean AEW, don't have to worry all that much about attendance. Now, I'm still going to keep an eye out on attendance because attendance is an important consumer metric. It's an important consumer business metric to show confidence in a product, just like ratings are. It'll be the same thing for live attendance. And to me, as I look over this, week after week, and we talk about it on occasion, we don't talk about it as much as we used to, right? To be fair, just want to hammer that home. So I'm taking a little more time here to talk about this, but when I look at this, when I look at the consumer metrics regarding AEW's programming, the pay-per-views have consumer confidence. People still believe that AEW pay-per-views are quality, and that they'll buy the show in droves, and they will buy tickets to go to the shows. Maybe not as much as they used to, but much more than the run-of-the-mill TV. The run-of-the-mill TV does not have that level of consumer confidence because they're running the live shows, and especially the Dynamite, which is the OG show, the flagship show, and they're struggling to get people in the buildings. They're getting 2,000 to 3,000 people on average into the buildings for Dynamites. That is a sign that's a consumer metric that you can look at and say, well, if this is not a hot product. And we just got to be objective about this. And you can spin this around and break it down, but year over year, it's not good either. There's no way to twist this in a way to say, no, but don't worry. No, there is a worry to be had. I'm going to stop worrying about the ticket sales as a big revenue stream for AEW once the media deal is set and we know where they're going with this. Then I'll be like, well, they have so many millions in the bank, so many hundreds of millions in the bank, right? Let's be honest. That's probably what's coming. They'll have so many hundreds of millions in the bank that it doesn't matter if they go to Sioux Falls and they draw under 2,000 people. It doesn't matter. On an income point of view. But it still matters from a perception point of view. It matters from a live experience point of view. That's another conversation for another time. Because I think we've talked enough about it for now. Let's get to the show, which, as I said at the start of the review here, I liked today's show, last night's show. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was. Look, we got one great match, like one legitimately great match on free TV this week. We got a bunch of good stuff, a lot of things happening. I enjoyed it much more than last week. We got one stinker, but ultimately, the things that worked. Some things worked real well, and everything continued to build towards Wembley. And I've been enjoying a lot of the builds here. Some less. We're going to get to it. Why don't we go right ahead? Because, this show started off with a cold open, as opposed to me, where as opposed to this review, no cold open. you just start talking about anything that doesn't have to, stuff that doesn't have to do directly with the show. But the opener starts off, the opening match starts off where Mercedes Moné retained her AEW TBS title against Hikaru Shida. You know what? I thought this was pretty good. And as a guy who is on the Hikaru Shida is washed train, I would even say I'm not on the train. I'm the conductor. And a lot of people boo my train as it barrels through their town. They throw tomatoes at my train, telling me, "Yeah, Warren, this is a bad train. You're wrong." But I keep telling you, and she has proved me right more often than not. When I got into this match, there was two things that were going through my mind, and I figured it was going to go either one of two ways. Either Shida is going to be able to work up to Mercedes level because Mercedes is a great pro wrestler. And I was like, it'll be very hard for Shida, in my opinion, to have a bad match here. Or the other thing that could happen, completely opposed, is that, both of these women who have a tendency to be sloppy will just have one of the sloppiest matches ever. And we'll all sit here shrugging and going, well, there you go. Yeah. And just in case you're new here, just in case it's the first time you pop up, how can I say in the same breath that Sasha Banks is a great pro wrestler and then in the same breath say she's sloppy? Well, that's how she is. And the thing is that instead of the sloppiness being something in which her matches fall apart and that it makes her inherently bad, she leans into it and works it into her matches. And because there are times where she's not crisp, where she's not like super precise, but that's to a degree her style at this point, and it works. And it works because it seldom ruins a match. Like, things don't fall apart. She's able to work with the fact that maybe sometimes she's a little off on things, or this doesn't land exactly the way it's supposed to, and that's Mercedes Moné, that's Sasha Banks, that's how it's been for forever at this point. And I think anyone with a reasonable view of pro wrestling comes to that same conclusion. She's a great pro wrestler. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's how I will always frame her. And her sloppiness is, to dumb it down, it's part of her charm. The sloppiness is part of what makes Sasha Mercedes really good. Whereas Shida, when she gets sloppy, she just falls apart. So I was expecting either or. And I thought ultimately we didn't get the sloppy thing. It was really good. And there was this one sequence where they're doing near falls and backslides, and that broke down. That completely fell apart. This one sequence, and then it was like, oh brother. Okay, but they're pros. They were able to move away from that. Things picked up, and I thought it maintained a good pace, a good rhythm throughout. And Shida eventually mounts her comeback, lands a missile drop kick. Mercedes does a Meteora, goes for the Three Amigos, and it's blocked by a Falcon Arrow by Shida, which I thought was fun. And then we get kendo sticks involved. Camille takes it away from Shida because she's there to make sure that everything works in Mercedes's lane, of course. So that's it. So Camille then attacks Hikaru Shida because the ref is distracted because Mercedes has the kendo stick and the referee's trying to get her to throw it out. So then Camille attacks Shida, tosses her back in the ring, and then Mercedes finishes off with the finisher, which is the moneymaker. what is she called the bank statement? I thought the moneymaker was the bank statement, not the new finisher. I don't know. It doesn't matter. When I say the new finisher, the finisher that she didn't use in WWE, the one that Kairi Sane didn't know how to that Kairi Sane didn't know how to sell on the New Japan show when she made her first appearance since leaving WWE, right? What was that one? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I gave this 3.25 stars. I thought this was pretty good. I thought this honestly was pretty good. I might even be tempted. I'm gonna bump it up a star. I'm tempted to put it up to 3.5. Maybe it's just because I'm in a good mood, but and that I thought this was a good Dynamite. But yeah, 3.5. And look, if anything, Shida showed that in working with one of the best women's wrestlers out there, she can hang. So there's no excuses. Honestly, this is not making me stop the Shida's wash train and making me jump off, because I still sincerely believe that she's had this one good match, and everything else has been kind of trash. And I still maintain that a lot of people continue saying that oh no, Shida is great, because they're still latched on to her great run as women's world champion during the pandemic, which was remarkable. And they're still latched on to that and don't exactly see that she's not putting in half as much effort as she used to. And it's not as crisp and etc. Anyway, let's not make this a referendum on Shida. After the match, Britt Baker, so Britt Baker's music hits and you see someone with a Sting mask in the audience holding a sign. And Camille is like, I got my thinking cap on, and she goes straight for the weird, because what Camille does is she does the thing where she goes to she stands on the ramp and she's like, come on, and then you as a wrestling viewer who's watched wrestling for at least more than a week, at this point that when a wrestler does that, that means that the wrestler whose music is playing is coming out from behind. So I'm there going, this isn't very smart. But then she sees the person in the Sting mask in the audience, and then she goes, wait a minute. And then she goes straight for the person in the Sting mask and beats them up. Like, doesn't unmask or anything, just starts, straight waylaying. And we're all about to go, haha, masterful gambit, Camille, but it is not Britt Baker. She comes in from the other side through the crowd. She walks in. Okay. She walks to the ring, and then she gets on the ring, pulls out her glove, starts putting on her glove. And this is a really long time because Camille is doing the beatdown and Britt is sauntering to the ring through the audience. Then she gets on the apron. Then she starts putting on the glove for the lockjaw. And it's taking so much time that Mercedes at some point is like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to turn around because the timing here is completely shit. And good call. Because I'm pretty sure Mercedes was to turn around once Britt was in the ring, probably behind her with wearing the glove. But Britt was still on the fucking, apron, doing the glove thing, fumbling with her glove, trying to get her fingers in. So Mercedes at some point just turns around and is just like, this is taking forever. And she turns around and she sees her there. And then Britt comes in and then, they do the kendo stick thing and, Britt avoids it. And then she threatens to put the lockjaw on. And then Camille drags Mercedes out because she realized, oh, wait, there's something going on in the ring. Now, I didn't necessarily care for this post-match angle. I thought it was poorly executed, and it was a little too convoluted. Okay, first and foremost, the person in the Sting mask, who was that? Who was that? Why was it just like a rando fan? Like, or I know it's a plant. I know Camille didn't go after someone in the audience, okay? I know it's a plant, but who was it? Because at some point I'm like, wait a minute, what if it's Jamie Hayter? Which would have been ridiculous. You don't do that. You don't debut Jamie Hayter back like that, right? But nonetheless, I'm like, wait a minute. But no, like they didn't even reveal it. They didn't even did Britt set this up? She set it up with whom? Like, was this her plan all along? We don't know. We don't know how things. So on that level, sparks are flying around. Like there's connections that aren't being made in my brain right now. I don't understand. Like this doesn't make sense. Then Britt, who last week was saying, "Oh man, I'm so excited to get my hands on you. I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna find a way." She's walking to the ring. She's like, doop, doop, doop. And there's no intensity. There's nothing that makes me feel like this is a feud, right? That this is something where you want no babyface energy here. It's like, oh, I'm going to kick her ass, right? She climbs over the barricade. She doesn't like hop over it. Like, I know it's little things, but then she gets up on the apron and it takes so long for the fucking glove thing. And I'm like, this is so long. This is taking so long. And this is something that should be electric and dynamic. And they tried to do she tries to lock in her finisher. I get what they're doing, establishing that this is how she wants to finish off Mercedes. Like, don't worry, I understand. And I understand, Camille saving. I get everything. I understand why they're doing it, but it doesn't mean it was well done. And I don't think it was well done. I think the post-match angle kind of stunk. Didn't have the energy, didn't have that energy that I thought we were going to get from Britt Baker coming back from, suspension, both kayfabe and real. And just like, man, we're going to tear this up. Here she is complaining that MJF gets, an hour, or according to the rumors, right? If they're true, and she gets an hour, that MJF gets an hour on TV that one time, and then she gets some time to run her angle for her big match at Wembley, and she's not even bothered to light a fire. Like I don't understand. Like if I get suspended, and probably wrongfully, we're just saying, all based on what we know. If I'm getting suspended and I come back and I have my TV time, brother, I am tearing ass. I am going through it. I am fired up. I am making sure that I am never kept away from this company ever again. Because in the meantime, look, Max had his hour match with Will Ospreay, where both guys just completely emptied themselves out. Like it was a tremendous match. So I can't bitch because one guy is getting 60 minutes on a show, two guys actually. But you know what? Let's continue focusing on Max because that was the whole crux of the situation of the suspension. I don't care if Max gets an hour if during that hour I am entertained, I'm watching great pro wrestling, I'm seeing guys completely expend each other for my enjoyment. And if you're going to bitch about it, if you're going to complain about it, and then you get your TV time and you're acting like you're, delivering mail, I'm like, well, no, this doesn't work for me, pal. Anyway, spent a lot of time on the opener. Jay Lethal then is backstage. He's with Jeff Jarrett and the gang, and they're being interviewed backstage, and then out of nowhere, Hangman Adam Page just jumps him. And I let out a hoot when that happened. I was like, woo! More, this is what I want more of. More Hangman Adam Page hanging around interview booths, interview setups, backstage, just waiting to jump people. That fucking ruled. And what ruled even more is that this is how the match started, where they brawl backstage, they're fighting they're brawling, and they go all the way to the ring, and then the ref is there and goes ding, ding, ding. What a great way to start this match. For a feud that ultimately I do not care about and I think is preposterous for Hangman Adam Page to even be involved in, because all signs point to him getting a match with Jarrett at All In, and I'm like, is this the best you can do with the cowboy? This is it? Anyway, moving on. We're not getting into that today. Because this match in and about itself was perfect. I mean, not a perfect wrestling match, but the way it was implemented, executed, the angle. And then they get to the ring, the bell rings, and what does Jay Lethal do? He does 5 consecutive dives. Crowd is on their feet. Crowd loves this. Good crowd, by the way. Anyway, yes, good crowd, by the way. I'm trying to skip the line here. Talk about things happening later on in the show, but I don't have much bad to say about this match. I thought it was effective. It did exactly what it needed to do. Jay Lethal was fired up, and Page just brutalized him. And he's doing belly to bellies like he's doing some old school shit. He does this DVD, which is a nice little spike DVD, a little high angle Death Valley Driver. God, I was like, that's great. This is what I love about pro wrestling. Lethal does the lethal combo, but a buckshot lariat gets the job done. Jay Lethal may be hurt because they were doing. They had the medical staff look after him, right? And the camera was moving away from the medical staff, and they had. I think it was Paul Turner, the referee. Doesn't matter. He raised Page's arm like off center, right? So, look, I'm not saying he is hurt. I'm saying he might be hurt. Maybe the news says broken by the time you're listening to this, but as I'm recording this right now, we do not know. Anyway, I thought this was a perfect segue. And why doesn't AEW do more? You know what this is? This is different. This is different. Do you honest to God, in WWE, there is nothing more sacrosanct than the entrances. Like, they would never sacrifice, Jey Uso's entrance for this kind of start to a match, right? People have to come out to their entrances. They got to do their little crowd thing. They got to do, their hand signals or let the crowd sing or whatever. That is sacrosanct. Anyone who interrupts an entrance is a heel, basically. So why doesn't AEW do more creative stuff like this to just start off a match? It's like, we have a scheduled match. It's coming up. I'm cutting a pre-match promo just to get fired up and get the crowd fired up. But then, boom, the other guy pops in and they just start wailing on each other. This is the shit that, as we talk about often, AEW can do to differentiate itself from the other guys. I love this. That was a blast. We get then a recap of MJF defending the AEW American title against Michael Oku in the UK over the weekend for Rev Pro. I haven't watched the show yet, but I heard that MJF really went hard, as he should, and it's a whole thing. And Ospreay shows up. Little rumor going around that Michael Oku and his wife, what's her name again? I am not trying to be facetious. I am drawing a blank. Amira. There we go. Michael Oku and Amira might be heading over to AEW. Yeah. And I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Michael Oku is a fine, more than fine. He's a good little pro wrestler. I don't know what his upside is. And I think that he's not going to translate well for multiple reasons. Maybe I'll talk about it on the Mr. Warren Hayes show when and if that happens. But here's a guy that I'm not convinced is going to translate well to the Dynamite crowd. Not unless he's got some secret skill set that he's been hiding all these years in Rev Pro, being their top guy. I don't know. Look, I mean, this is, you can tell that there's a lot of Will Ospreay behind this hiring, right? And that I don't have a problem with it. I'm not saying that because it's Will Ospreay getting his boys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. That's something I cannot care about. That's just it's always been that way in pro wrestling, and it's not just necessarily one guy. It's being in the know with the right people. Look. Here's an example here, right? Where let's just jump to it, but we'll come back to the Pac thing. When Darby does his pre-tape, which I really liked, by the way. Darby does his pre-tape, and he talks about struggling and then seeing Jungle Boy getting hired to this AEW thing. He's like, oh, this is just the Elite hiring all their friends. This is what I mean. Whether Ospreay was influential in convincing AEW to hire Michael Oku or not, I couldn't give a shit. Like I whether Ospreay pushed for it or I don't give a shit. Pepperman being brought in by Mercedes Moné. It's like, again, I don't care of how they get in. It doesn't matter. This has always been the case in pro wrestling. You get in good with some people or one particular person, and then that person will take care of you. That person will make sure you're hired. Or these people, of course, the Young Bucks are going to bring in all their California buddies in. Like, and I don't know why anyone thought otherwise. It's like, of course, that's just how it goes. Will Ospreay's bringing in his buddies. Of course, that's how it goes. You get influence. You're able to peddle some influence and get people that you like, your friends, your buddies, your partners. You're able to get them hired. You get them hired. You know what I mean? Like I know people take umbrage to that. The nepotism. That's another thing. And I know people get upset about that. I don't care. I don't care enough for that. It's stuff that happens in pro wrestling, and you see it happen and deal with it. But I don't care. Even in probably in your line of work right now, there are people who have been hired there because they know the manager, they know the president, they know the right people. That's just the thing. I don't care if they're completely incompetent in the role. Wow. Then we might have a discussion. But the Elite hiring Jack Perry because he's a pal, he's a friend. I don't care. Jack Perry's a fine little wrestler, good little wrestler, and it's all right. Michael Oku coming in. I mean, the hiring itself, I don't care. But I'm less convinced with how things are going to translate. But let's talk about the Darby Allin promo. Then we'll go back to the Pac promo. That's basically what he says. He says, I've struggled while you've been given everything, Jack, and that's why I hate you. And then he says, what have you given back to AEW? I killed myself for these people, for this promotion, and you just take it all for granted. You've never given anything back. The fans wouldn't even care if tomorrow you disappeared. And he's kind of working stiff here because these are all things that people say, people assume, people think. I thought this promo was a little stiff. I'm not saying that it was a shoot, far from it. But it was a little stiff. So then he makes his entrance. Was he supposed to wrestle? Like, I don't know. I don't know if he was supposed to wrestle. But he makes his entrance. And he gets blindsided by Perry. And they fight all the way backstage onto some road cases. And then Perry pins Darby under the loading dock door, which has been an antagonist in the history of AEW. I think it's Excalibur that even brought it up. And so he's trapped under the weight of the door. He's trying to wriggle out, he can't, and Jack tries to crush him with a road case, but security comes in and prevents it from happening. And as they're being as Perry is being restrained, he challenges Darby to a coffin match at the Wembley Stadium. Which leads me to believe that there's going to be a real glass spot. I hope they don't, because I really don't want to hear any, outside of internet memes, Drew McIntyre posting a picture with Jack Perry, that kind of stuff. Outside of that, I don't ever want to, I don't want this shit addressed anymore. I'm done with it. You should be done with it too. I don't want it, but I'm assuming this is probably what's going to happen because it's going to be the anniversary of all that. That should be another pay-per-view. You got All In, you got All Out, and you got All That. And you have to say it on that tone. All that. Not in a, oh, it's all that kind of thing, like in a, that old-timey expression. Is it old-timey now? She's all that, for instance. That no one uses that lingo anymore. We're old. So we're getting a coffin match. Let's just hope that we keep the gimmicked up matches to a minimum. How about that? Let's move back a little bit. We'll talk about Pac's promo. Finally, they address what has been, breaking the brains of a lot of wrestling fans and pundits like myself. It's like, hey, hang on a second here. What about when, of course, I'm talking about when what's his name won, Will Ospreay, when he, won the title, anyway, all that stuff. When he won the title, because Pac, as you remember, won a number one contendership match, and then he himself was saying Wembley, and then it turned into Ospreay versus MJF. Finally, they fucking addressed this, and Pac is pissed because he's tired of being treated like a bum, which I liked, and he said, I was supposed to get my Wembley moment, but Will Ospreay connived his way into that spot. He went in to complain to Tony Khan, and Tony Khan gave him the spot. So he's blaming Will Ospreay for not getting his shot at Wembley. And basically what he's saying is that, all right, you two have your fun at Wembley Stadium. I'm going to wrestle the winner of either of you guys in Chicago for All Out. So the fact that I believe I think it's a little breadcrumb. The fact that he's setting up this heat with Will Ospreay is kind of a tip-off. I'm not saying that, but it's maybe a tip-off that Ospreay's winning the title back at Wembley Stadium, which would make a lot of sense, to be honest. And I think he's winning the title there, and then it'll be Ospreay and Pac. And Pac's already laying out the groundwork for the 2-week feud that they're going to have to build the match for the pay-per-view in Chicago. Does that make sense? But finally they addressed it. And yeah, and honestly, honest to God, if indeed the Lucha Bros are on their way out of AEW, And Death Triangle will obviously be no more. Do fucking something with Pac. Stop worrying about, like, here's the thing. You're bringing in Michael Oku and you've got Pac on your roster. Like, right there to me, there's a tremendous gap between these two here where you have Pac, who is a tremendous pro wrestler in every sense, and Michael Oku, who, not that he's an unknown quantity, but he's going to have an uphill battle, I believe. I don't think he's as much of a, I don't think he's that much of a quality guarantee. Whereas Pac, we know is. Pac is tremendous. Anywho, we get a pre-tape by Mariah May after all of this, after the Darby and Jack Perry stuff. We're back in chronological order now. I don't know. This match has gotten so cold, like so incredibly cold. And these Mariah May promos, these pre-tapes are doing nothing to reignite the spark. It's not even a spark. It was a flame. It was a bonfire of the turn. They have been unsuccessful in maintaining that level of excitement and intensity for that feud. It was a moment, a heel turn that had everyone talking about. And I saw near universal praise. Only the absolute worst weirdos didn't like that angle. But everyone was in agreement. Hot angle, tremendous way to end the show. What a great moment. Legendary. Like all of those, everything was being thrown around. And now, and Mariah May doing vignettes, artistic, vignettes where she's burning gear like a scorned lover, not unlike Liv Morgan burning Dominic's bullshit. To me, it's the same level of campy. It's the same level of nonsense. Like, I don't care. This doesn't excite me. It's campy. It's pointless. It doesn't add anything. And there's multiple factors here. And I think Toni Storm has been doing a lot of heavy lifting here, but she's not getting anything back from Mariah. And this could, I think on one hand, it has a lot to do with Mariah's just overall inexperience in these types of, in this type of scenario here, where she's not grabbing it. She's sticking to her lines, to her presentation, so on and so forth, instead of leaning into it as a heel. And the creative that surrounds it, which I think is not doing Mariah any favors. The Die Mariah Die poster from last week is like, okay. I even think their pull-aparts are kind of lame, I don't think this is... I don't think this has been built up well. And is this why they flew in Mina Shirakawa? They flew in Mina Shirakawa to Norfolk, Virginia to have her, in a backstage with Renee Paquette saying, I haven't heard from Mariah or Tony, and and I haven't heard from them, and I'm shocked. I mean, good little promo. English is not her first language, and I think she got along really good. But holy smokes, is this why we're flying Mina in? Is Mina going to be a third element to this feud to try and jazz things up again because people really liked how that was being played out? That, the love triangle thing. Like, they didn't fly Mina Shirakawa in just for a backstage promo. They're probably doing something, right? They're having her stick around. Are they going to fly her out to the UK? Is she going to be in Cardiff next week? It makes sense, doesn't it? Why is Stardom not using this woman? What's wrong? Don't get me wrong. I like the crossover stuff, and, people have been bitching for a while that, AEW was doing all sorts of crossover stuff with New Japan and all, and with the men and not doing anything and even with the TNA stuff. Why aren't the women more involved? So on and so forth. And now, so I'm not complaining. It's just shocking. And I legitimately think they're flying Nina in as a break glass in case of emergency situation. I think they're trying to find something to add to the feud because it is not working. Mariah May and Toni Storm is not working. The audience is going to go cuckoo crazy when Toni Storm walks into Wembley with her old theme and her red and black gear, and people are going to lose their shit. Don't get me wrong here. But the feud, the build, you had a really hot match on your hands. Anyway, speaking of hot matches, Orange Cassidy defeated Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong in a three-way match, which absolutely blew me away. I was riveted. I was on the edge of my seat. I was hooting and hollering. I thought this was absolutely one of the best TV matches I've seen all year. All promotions put together. This was phenomenal stuff. When we talk about how AEW should lean into the wrestling because that's what they do best, WWE cannot do what we saw on Dynamite last night with these three guys. They just can't do it. They will never do that. Never on that level. They'll have little three-ways and stuff, but something like that, never. Where these guys are working nonstop for 15 minutes and not like one guy. You're avoiding all the three-way tropes where one guy gets knocked out and then it's two guys wrestling for 3 minutes and then one guy gets tossed out and then and then the guy who was resting on the floor comes in. None of that. This was a three-way match and all three guys were involved throughout the match doing triple maneuvers and storytelling. Sure, there's a couple of times where a guy gets thrown out to the floor, but he doesn't stay out there for 3 to 4 minutes at a time. It's not always just two guys. It's mixing up. There's always shit happening. Electric, dynamic. Roderick Strong is so good. Keeping everyone on their toes, just working like a madman. Kyle O'Reilly, I think he's found his groove. I think I think he lacked a little confidence coming back after his injury, but now we're back into it. And Orange Cassidy, we know Orange Cassidy's a great worker. Plus the guy is over. He has always been over with his audience. I still don't understand why he didn't win up after losing the international title that one time. And I think there's still time. Like this, I think the crowd wants to cheer for Orange Cassidy in top tier places. I think they do. They did it with Mox for that little feud. I think they want to cheer for Orange being in big spots. But back to the match. Tremendous workhorse match here. Just shit flying everywhere. And then even the little bit of interference, and this is the type of interference that is done well and that doesn't bother me. When the kingdom come down, immediately the rest of the conglomerate, right? Because it's Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, and Tomohiro Ishii. The rest of them come down to get rid of them. And what do they do to get rid of them? Mark Briscoe does the senton off the chair to the floor. That's how we get rid of them. Crowd is on their feet. Crowd was on their feet for this match. They were into it. They were cheering. They were so excited for the work that was going on in this match. This is what AEW could be top to bottom every week. Getting the crowd excited and invested in these matches. This was phenomenal stuff. I can't believe this was a television match. You could plump this on a pay-per-view and we'd be like, what a tremendous match. And we got this on a Wednesday night in Norfolk, Virginia. And I love this spot where, you know, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong do the high-low accidentally on Orange Cassidy, hearkening back to their tag team experience together. It's just like, what a great match, and everything, the pace, the cardio on these men. It's outstanding. Match of the night, match of the week, match of the month for Dynamite, maybe? When was the MJF thing, the MJF Ospreay thing? Look, I might be going slightly over, but I might be getting no, that was in July. So yeah, match of the month. Match of the month. All of these guys are so good. They're so good. Look at the breadth of talent that you have here. You could have, this could be Dynamite from top to bottom every week. It could be this. Because week after week, they pull out these matches and we're like, see, we know you can do it. But instead, we have to make time for goofiness, for, the nonsense. Anyway, 4.5 stars for me. That's how much I love this match. Renee Paquette is backstage doing the face-off between Claudio Castagnoli and Kazuchika Okada. Two guys who, their live talking is not necessarily their strong suit, so that was probably a good call. Whoever produced this, good call. Claudio puts over the Continental Championship and whatnot, and he's being a competitor, and he's saying, I'm gonna bring the gold home and all of that. And Okada's not impressed, and he does something with his nipples. I don't know what's going on. And he said, and Okada, and very good English, by the way, on this one here, says, he knows Castagnoli is very passionate, but I am the greatest tournament wrestler of all time, and I'll respect him. I'll respect Claudio when he beats me in Cardiff, because they're doing the Continental title match on Dynamite next Wednesday. And then Okada walks away, right? And then Claudio just drops a fantastic rebuttal alone there. And he says, listen, I don't want to fight the elite goofball who's saying lines just to pop his friends, right? I want the guy who won 4 G1s. I want the Rainmaker. That's what I want. I want the guy who main evented in the Dome. I don't want this wacky, what did he call him? The bootleg Okada. I want the Rainmaker. And I'm like, I'm sitting there. I'm absorbing it. I'm like, hell yeah, we all do, Claudio. We want a real deal Rainmaker Okada match against Claudio Castagnoli. Something that a lot of us never thought would happen. And we're about to get it. And I don't think this is being underscored enough. Like, I think the argument is, of course, fans are hyper-focusing on whether it should have been a Wembley match or not. And there's a very compelling argument to have put that on the Wembley card. But it's not. And the point is that we are still getting this match. We're getting Kazuchika Okada versus Claudio Castagnoli in a singles match. And Claudio is outright saying, I want the Rainmaker. I want one of the greatest of all time to fight me. Not goofball Okada, who's popping his friends backstage. Great. What a fantastic promo. Back from commercial, Patriarchy are with Renee Paquette, and basically Christian Cage is running down his antics because they did a little recap of that too. His antics on Collision with the #1 contendership match, whatever, puts over Nick Wayne versus Kip Sabian as well, and there you go. Look, good promo by Christian. I guess we just have to move on for time here because we still got stuff to talk about. But good promo. Good promo by Christian here. No shocker there. And water is wet. How about that? Tony Schiavone is in the ring with Hook. Hook admits that he can't see out of his left eye since the fireball and tells Chris Jericho that his problem is... but he says that Chris Jericho's problem is that he can see just fine out of his other eye. And he challenges Jericho for the FTW title at Wembley. Nice little fired up promo by Hook. I will even go as far as to say that I think this is Hook's best promo that we've seen from him. Live in the ring like this, I thought that was very good. Like, clearly he had a path. He was given his bullet points. He remembered them. He memorized them, but it didn't feel like he was saying lines. It felt like he was cutting a promo, and a good little fiery one. So I liked it. Jericho comes out, calls him a stupid son of a bitch. Excuse me. And basically accepts the challenge because for Wembley, right? Because Hook wanted to fight tonight. Jericho does you want to fight tonight? Well, I'm not going to fight tonight. I'm sure MJF had a talk with him after. And he says, I'll agree to do it, but there's some stipulations. The first is that if this will be your last chance to challenge for the FTW title, and you're going to have to go through Big Bill next week first. So if you beat Big Bill, the match at Wembley is happening. So there we go. And then Hook says that he's looking forward to dump Big Bill on his head and tearing Chris Jericho limb from limb. And after Wembley Stadium, he'll never be the same again. Now, if he's trying to, well, not only if, because Jericho's reaction indicated that he was doing one of Jericho's old lines, he should have at least done it like Jericho used to do, where Jericho tries to get again and same to rhyme. So Jericho would say, "You'll never be the same again." That's how we do it, and it was obnoxious and stupid because it was trying to make the two words rhyme. Anyway, I thought Hook looked really good here. Then we had the AEW World Tag Team Title match where the Young Bucks defeated the Acclaimed. This kind of stunk. I didn't like this. Very pedestrian type of match. I've got nothing here. There's nothing that excited me. I'm like, well, there you go. It's the Acclaimed. What do you want from me? But the one thing, that I will underscore here is what's happened to the Bucks. Like, where are these great Young Bucks matches that we had in AEW and before that, and now in AEW they're just not doing it anymore. They're just not wrestling anymore. Not like the Bucks should. This is one of the greatest tag teams of all time. One of the best tag teams of the best tag team, the most influential tag team of the past 10 to 15 years. I don't know what we were supposed to do here watching this match. Like, there was nothing exciting, and you can see flashes that how good the Jacksons are, but there's so much shtick and now these are two teams that do shtick. And the crowd was not into this. You know that good crowd I was talking about? This is one of the reasons why I thought they were a good crowd. They saw this match, they didn't think it was very good, so they sat on their hands. They were alive for everything else. But this, You see what I'm talking about when I say when you get the three ways like we had, when you get trios matches with some of the luchadors or 8-man tags, and it's blowing everyone's mind. And when I say Dynamite could be that up and down, then we have to make time for this. The Bucks who are mailing it in, and the Acclaimed who have overstayed their welcome, in my opinion. I don't get it. I don't understand. Anyway, everyone is fighting after the match because FTR forces a DQ, essentially. Because they're trying to do the right thing and keep the Bucks from destroying the Acclaimed, and then Matt Jackson spits on Dax, and Dax loses his mind because there's a ref bump, right? And then Matt Jackson spits on Dax. Dax goes after Matt, and then the referee awakes to see this and is like, ding, 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 disqualification. So now the Acclaimed are mad at FTR. The Bucks are like, tee hee hee, and that's where we're at right now. And then we immediately go backstage to Renee Paquette, who's with Scrap Daddy Christopher Daniels. And Daniels makes a match for Collision where he's saying, okay, well, simple solution, Acclaim versus FTR for the number one contendership to face the Bucks at Wembley. Are we really getting FTR versus the Bucks again at Wembley? Or are we getting a three-way? And I think the three-way is what's going to happen here. Because I think the Bucks are going to do some nonsense on Collision. And it's probably the worst possible scenario. And it's crazy. It's crazy that we're having this type of situation in the tag team division, and that we're dealing with tag teams like the Acclaimed right now who are just not doing it. They're not a top level tag team, right? While in the meantime, AEW is about to let the Lucha Bros go away. Grizzled young veterans, we don't know what's happening with that. Motor City's Machine Guns, we don't know what happened to this great place of tag team wrestling. What happened to it? Now it's the tag team division in AEW is starting to feel like the WWE one, where it's all tag teams and things that don't matter. Tony Khan did good on his threat and presented us with a Bryan Danielson career retrospective set to the music of Green Day, specifically Good Riddance. And I thought that was a meme. I thought it was a joke. No one knows what this song is about. No, does anyone know what this song is about? I dare you to go check it out. Because if you think like it's this nostalgic, it's a song that's supposed to be full of nostalgia and good times, let's remember the good. That's not what it's about. The song's title is Good Riddance. My God. Like, I get it if high school students at their graduation want to be a little cheeky. And it's like, yeah, good riddance, class. But, most of the school. But most of the time, it's not even about that. Anyway. It was a good package. The footage was very compelling with Ring of Honor stuff, and of course, I think we would have all liked to see some WWE stuff in there, but I'm pretty sure Tony was like, no, we're not asking anyone in WWE. We're done with that. I think for a while I think for a while it was cordial, but I think Tony now was like, no, screw them. But you know what? Here's the thing is that Danielson's not retiring. He's got y'all fooled. The hard sell on Danielson retiring is pretty clear to me. I don't know. And then we end with Swerve Strickland defeating Wheeler Yuta by referee stoppage in this one here. Danielson is ringside for this. Did I miss why he wasn't just like out with Yuta? Why he was in the audience? Did he buy a ticket? Was he banned from ringside? Because Nana wasn't banned from ringside. Did I miss something? Because BCC have corner each other often, you know? I'm like, why didn't he come out with Yuta? Why didn't he ringside? Because he was acting like he was ringside, you know, cheering him on and come on, Yuta, get up, you know, and all that stuff. I don't know. Why was he in the audience and just not with Yuta? Anyway, I like this. I like the main event a lot. I don't think it was tremendous or great. I think it was a fine little match. You know, the idea here is that that Swerve wanted to beat him up, right? Wanted to crush him, and you know, and he beats him up, and he's staring over at Danielson. You know, he does you know, all sorts of stuff, beats him up, does a Falcon Arrow. Yuta fights back, does the head stomps and a dive. And Swerve even does a label lock, which Wheeler Yuta reverses out of into an ankle lock, which I thought was pretty fun. And then Swerve finally ends the match with 3 separate house calls, which commentary was putting over as a big deal. And then after the 3 house calls, he full mounts Yuta, tucking his legs, tucking his arms in so that he's completely immobile, and starts punching him in the face. Not some great working punches though. Like completely exposed. Like I get you don't want to be hitting the guy straight on the nose, but yeah, not great working punches. I think the idea was better than the execution, and the ref calls it since Wheeler is out of it and cannot defend himself. So that immediately then has Danielson rush the ring, and Swerve just walks off calmly. He gets on the microphone, and as he's walking up, and he's sounding a little heelish. I told you last week, I like this sinister Swerve. I think he's very good. And he says he's going to show us that why he's the most dangerous man in AEW. What he did here was just a taste of what he's going to do to Danielson, who's bringing his family, right? Well, just in time for me to cripple you in front of your family. I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's actually something that could happen. That's very ominous. But, you know, it's good. It's a good promo. And we think, you know, we cut back to the ring and Danielson's overlooking Yuta and we think everything is done. But no, Swerve runs in and lays him out. And he starts doing mock yes chants. Are we turning Swerve heel for the context of this situation here? Because it's working. I don't have a problem with this. And I think they might as well lean into it. Because it makes sense. Because there's no way people are going to be outright cheering for Swerve at Wembley. Like they're baby facing Danielson way too hard here. I think this is fine. And I think once you flip back against the Hangman, everything will be fine. You know, people will cheer Swerve and whatnot. It was interesting. Like a good little post-match angle. The build continues to be solid. Next week, they got to drive it home. Next week, there has to be something absolutely dramatic. You know, and Danielson cut a nice fiery promo on social media after as well. He talked about, you know, he referenced Swerve saying, "Oh, what are you going to do? You're going to break into my house? You're going to, you know," referencing the Hangman stuff. He says, you know, That's fine. That's okay. I know how to deal. I'm paraphrasing, but I know how to deal with people breaking into my house. And I don't know if a lot of people realize that Danielson, maybe now at this point, a lot of people I think talked about it on Twitter, but Danielson actually choked out a burglar who had broken into his home. This was like in 2014, right? And he was with Bree, like, and they were living in Phoenix, and they heard some noises, and they saw two guys like leaving their home with like, bags of loot, and Danielson takes a powder, runs these guys down. These guys are like, they see him out of the corner, and they start heading for the hills. Danielson just full cardio. He starts running them down, grabs one of the guys and puts him in a chokehold and holds him there until the cops arrive. That is a shoot, brother. So I like that she sort of referenced that, and I was like, I don't know if people understand it's not a kayfabe thing. It's not like, oh, Randy Orton invaded my home that one time, or Seth Rollins invaded my home that one time and, ate a yogurt out of my fridge or whatever. No, it's not that. It's legit. So there you go. That's the Dynamite. Lots of stuff happening. We're continuing the builds. Some very good stuff, some great stuff. Stuff that I think we can do without, but at the same time, this is the pattern that we've been seeing with Dynamite as well. So what are you gonna do? But the good stuff, the great stuff, connected. A lot of my issues are quibbles, really, because I feel like the core of things was good. I enjoyed this Dynamite, and maybe I'm just buoyed by the really great match that we saw. That could also be a possibility. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify, and a like on YouTube. Those are all great. So I'll be back on Saturday, right? Yeah, I'm going to be back on Saturday to wrap up my daily G1 coverage, by the way. So subscribe to the channel if you want that. Otherwise, we'll be back on Tuesday for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper. So thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.